the Mancow.
Oh, man. Oh, this program. This program today. There's not another radio show in the world that will be as good as this program today. So you've made the right choice. It's 5:35 right now. Blagojevich is going to be in the studio co-hosting here coming up. And is Blago famous for being late?
Yes.
He is?
Notorious.
Always late,
people
yeah.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Conkle, do you remember when he made the seniors wait out in the cold? He was going to announce free rides for seniors, and it was like the middle of winter, and he was an hour late. And the old people are sitting around.
We have a good text about him.
Yeah.
I met him at Comic-Con in 2011, gave him a handshake and told him I'm a public school teacher and a libertarian, and without him, my 3 kids wouldn't have health care. Please tell him thank you. I love that guy.
Well, you just did. You just did. So we want to hear what you want to say. We want you to talk to him. We're going to open up the phones. He's going to take over here. He used to do a show on this station. Did he show up on time for that? There he is. Blago, how are you? Come on in. I want to do a fist bump. I'm a little bit fluish. I don't want to get you sick. Okay, you're right there.
Okay.
Now, if you get sick, don't blame it on me. It's not the coronavirus.
No problem.
Hello.
Mark Conkle. Hi, Mark.
Okay.
Good to see you, man. Just right in here, right?
Yeah, come on. Bring the mic over to your face. You worked here. You worked at LS.
Yes, I did. I really enjoyed that short period of time that I had my own little radio show.
Were they fond memories?
They were kind to me.
Were you good at it?
Probably not. But it was a difficult time because after everything had happened, and so those were not happy days.
Are you aware that I've been rooting for you?
Yes. Are we on the air?
Yes.
Oh, no, I was very good on the radio. I didn't know we were on the air.
Yeah.
No, Mark Vargas, my friend here, who I just met last week, has been telling me that, and I'm so grateful to you. I appreciate that.
Well, do you want to be called Rod, or I feel like I want to call you Blago, but
whatever you want.
Rod, and we
whatever you do, don't call me inmate number 408-92424. I'm sick of that.
Dear God. Oh, so my first question is going to be a joke. Can I ask my first stupid question?
Please.
How was the sex in prison?
Non-existent. In fact, you can't let your mind even go there.
Oh, no.
It becomes really cruel and unusual punishment.
I think, and I'm getting chills thinking about this, I think Patty is a hero. I've got, you have to understand something. I have 2 little girls.
Yes.
I have 2 14-year-old daughters.
Oh, twins.
Yes.
Yes.
And what you went through and not being around those kids, and I didn't think about you every day, but I thought about you quite often. And I think there's so much to a story here that nobody's said. Let me give you the setup, and then I'll hammer you with tough questions coming up.
Great.
Okay, here's the setup for me, just so people understand. All right? You said on this show and every show, they're going to get me. They're going to do something. Madigan and the rest, they want to jack up your taxes. That's all they want. You said it over and over. And lo and behold, they have a tape of you. Then you said, play the tape, play the tape. They never played the tape.
Right.
Okay?
Tapes.
And then you go to jail, and I said on the air, and I'm getting chills thinking about this, I said, well, they'll never raise the taxes now. It's too obvious. And damned if the day you went to jail, they didn't jack up everything. Our taxes are we're in hell here, brother.
Yes.
They wanted you out of the way.
I believe there's a lot of truth to that, and that could very well be the story behind the story. Don't know enough yet. We're trying to find out what the actual truth is and how this all happened.
Yeah.
And I predicted that exactly on your network, WLS,
yes,
that it was not only going to be a tax increase, but it was going to be a 60% tax increase. I mean, I knew exactly what they were trying to do, and I was proven right on that, and I was proven right that there was never a sale to the Senate seat. The appellate court eventually reversed that. People still think that happened. These people that did this to me are big liars like Joe McCarthy, and a lot of the same people who did it to me have been doing it to President Trump. They give them fancy names, Russian collusion, but it's a bunch of BS.
It's much crap.
And sale of the Senate seat, and that was never a crime to begin with. That was routine political conversations that began with President Obama sending an emissary to me, if you believe the sworn testimony of the labor boss, Tom Balanoff.
I mean, so much. You just said so much.
Yes, well, I've had plenty of time to think about what I want to say.
Yeah. So,
almost 8 years.
No. But before I ever heard the name Obama, before I knew who Obama was, before any of this, I remember you saying, they want me out of the way. You would tell anybody who would listen. They can't wait to jack up your taxes. Vote for Rod, because I'm the only thing between you and I'm the only guy that's going to keep you from getting taxed like you can't. That's how you campaigned to me. That's how you reached me. I remember it very clearly. You wait. Okay. You don't like Rod. It's fine. You don't like me. It's fine. Just know, and you may not like this. You may not like that. Just get ready. Cause boy, are they going to get you with taxes. And you would go into the story about your parents had no money and
That's right.
you were brought up in poverty, and get ready. And boy, if you weren't right.
Look, you hear the Trump people correctly talk about Washington as a swamp.
Yeah.
Well, so is Springfield. It's a total swamp. And what you have in government and politics today, it's probably true in all the state capitals, just like it certainly is true in Washington. You have entrenched, established people who control the process. And within certain boundaries, the Democrats fight the Republicans. But generally speaking, there's agreement that they're all in it together. Now you got a guy like Trump who comes in who's determined to change things. He's keeping his promises.
Yes, he
is.
He's
getting the pushback that he's getting. And I recognize all of that because on a smaller scale, at the AAA level, they did that to me. And I see what they're doing to Trump because for me it is, as Yogi Berra said, deja vu all over again. It's a lot of the same tactics that are being done to President Trump that were done to me.
A lot of double standards with you.
Yes.
I look, I don't want to burn my contacts, but everybody that you could mention, all those politicians, even one guy that was instrumental in getting you in jail, off the air would all say, oh my God, it's ridiculous that he's in jail this long.
Yeah.
They were too successful. I mean, they wanted you out of the way, but all of them, and I'm talking Democrats and Republicans, and yet I would turn on the mic and they would go, no, keep him locked up. And yet all of them in private, all of them would admit to me, no, it's ridiculous.
Okay, that's a microcosm of what they do to you in the public. They talk a big game privately, and they actually will sometimes recognize what the truth is, and they'll speak it. But then they get on their soapboxes as politicians, and then it's that inside game where they're looking after their own interests and the establishment's interests at the expense of the people. That's why that tax increase was such a big deal, because the people are supposed to fund that system as opposed to that system working for the people.
It's 8 a.m. I got to do a quick break. I have, I want to ask you about Obama. I want to ask you about Pritzker. I want to ask you about, prison time. I want to ask you about all these things. Anderson Cooper, that little dust up was insane. This new Huxley, Orwell, world where we have to use words that they like.
Right.
You have to admit that you're guilty.
That's right.
You have to say it the way Anderson Cooper likes it. I thought that was the most outrageous thing. Same thing at the debates when Bloomberg apologized. Oh, I don't like the words he used. Wait, what is this? I have to use your words so that... Insane. Hang on.
Yes.
We'll be back with Rod Blagojevich.
The Mancow.
Close after
The Mancow.
Rod Blagojevich is here, and you want to be called Rod?
That's fine. Yes, that's very nice.
So, look, I visited my friend Ted in prison, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And look, I used to be that guy. Lock him up forever. Lock him up. And certainly pedophiles, death penalty, rapists, whatever. But, guys like you, lock him up, put him away forever. It's very easy to say. I've been guilty of that in the past. But if you ever actually see what a guy like you goes through, it was hell.
Well, I think I'm the only governor that's had some unhappy experiences on a lot of things like this case. But also, I think I'm the only governor that's ever done prison times behind what the inmates call the razor wire. In other words, the higher security prison. My first 32 months were in this place where they restrict your movements. There were 900 inmates there. Some of my colleagues were convicted murderers. There were con artists there.
Colleagues.
Bank robbers. There were a lot of gangbangers and drug dealers.
Were you
cartel
afraid?
members.
Were you afraid?
No, not at all. I wasn't afraid in the least bit. When they do something like they did to me. And
you're opening sugar or something. Okay, I didn't know what that sound was. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I just didn't know what that sound was. I was about to yell at somebody. Go ahead.
when they, when they bring your life to ruin, as they did mine, and I've got a long time before I get to come home again and be with my children and my wife, and you're worried about them because you can't provide for them, you can't protect them, and you're locked out of the world, literally, and there's this barbed wire fence where they have police guards with assault weapons, machine guns, and if you get close to that fence, it's up to them, it's their discretion, they can shoot you. And on the prison yard, I learned there's a whole bunch of different kinds of customs that you have to be mindful of because otherwise they'll F you up.
Yeah.
So it was a rough place. And, but my feeling was after what they did to me and how I'd hit rock bottom as I had, there was nothing they could do to hurt me. So I feared nothing. And, as time went by, little by little, was able to get into a routine and, keep myself busy and focused on things like physical fitness, reading books.
You look the same except for the gray hair. You look exactly the same.
Well, I think I'm fitter. I mean, I frankly had the time to exercise and build muscle and run and I felt found that was a good way to kind of keep away the demons. And so, Teddy Roosevelt, one of our great presidents, used to say, black care never catches a rider whose pace is fast enough. And so to your listeners out there, if they find themselves facing adversity, one of the pieces of advice I'd give them is try to keep yourself focused and busy, leave the past behind, focus on the future, and if you can, like I did, find God and embrace Him because He'll help you through it.
Well, Rod, I believe, Rod Blagojevich joins us, and I do believe that living in the past or living in the future, worrying about the future, I believe those are satanic traps. Mm-hmm. Now is really all we have. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you about God, and what was your relationship with God in prison?
It was a blessing, and there would be moments, sometimes, not often, but there would be moments when I'd feel like all of this happened to me for a much larger reason, that it would actually bring me closer to God.
I'm sure it did.
Did you
feel the peace that surpasses all understanding? Did you feel the Holy Ghost come over you?
I think that's what those moments were.
Yeah.
I think
God will send a comforter.
Yes,
in these dark times.
That is absolutely certain. That has been the case. That has been true in my case. I believe.
Me too. And I don't know how. I've never been to jail.
Yeah.
But I don't know how anyone does it without God. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how folks do it.
I agree. With you.
Couldn't do it without God. I wouldn't be here without God.
And He's been good to you. God bless Him.
Yes.
I had a chance in prison, unlike I did before, to spend time in His Word by reading the Bible.
Yeah.
Slowly and carefully and rereading it and thinking about it. Before, though I believed, had faith and prayed.
You were busy.
In the race of life. I didn't slow down enough, and prison gave me the opportunity to feel Him through His Word and get closer to Him.
Okay, I want to get back to some of that stuff, but people are going to be really upset if I don't ask some of the tougher questions.
Yes, please do.
Why did Obama refer to Tony Resco? By the way, I live a couple of doors down from that Resco house.
Oh,
that's where I live.
Is that right, in Hyde Park?
In Wilmette.
Oh, in Wilmette.
The Resco house.
The Resco house, right.
Yeah, with
Obama's.
the sweet deal, yes.
Yeah.
Five doors down from that.
Oh, wow.
Why did Resco get referred to by Obama as boss?
As boss?
Yeah. Why did Obama call Resco boss?
I honestly never knew that. I met Obama through Resco. He introduced me to Obama when we were young political figures coming up in the late 1990s.
Is he a total fraud, Obama? We had an actor in here who was on a show called The Blacklist. What's the guy's name? Great, probably the greatest black Shakespearean actor. And he told us on the air, he said, Obama's a total creation. He talks like me. He looks like me. He walks like me. We created him. And then it went viral, and he said, hey, don't play that anymore. What was his name? The guy from The Blacklist. Love the guy. Anyway, do you believe he was just a total creation, deep state creation, an actor?
I think President Obama's a very good politician. I think he articulates a very positive message. At least he did when he ran, promising hope and change. The fact is, when he got there, he didn't change anything.
It was Chicago
as
usual.
Rhetoric.
He learned Chicago politics and took it to the White House.
He certainly came through the political system here in Chicago, and I'm sure he learned a lot of lessons and was able to apply them and move on to something bigger. President Trump is very different from Obama. He's got the testicular ability to bring real change and fight. And this is why he gets so much pushback. And with the change that he's fighting and bringing and the promises he's keeping, he's the one who's given us hope.
Jesse Jackson Jr., did he get off too easy?
No, he made big mistakes and he paid a price. Went to prison for 27 months or something, or 18 months or whatever it was. And the guy had ruined his political career, and evidently he's had some other issues, I heard. And I feel bad for what happened to him, but, that's illegal. You can't take campaign contributions for personal use. And he screwed up, and I think that his sentence was probably appropriate. What was inappropriate was my
your sentence, yeah.
Was completely inappropriate.
So you don't want more for him, you wanted less for you. Or no time.
I wanted no time. I wanted to have none of this happen to me, and I'm still seeking justice. I didn't commit a single crime. I broke no laws. I crossed no lines. I sought campaign contributions within the confines of what the Supreme Court says the law is. They used an unlawful standard to convict me. These prosecutors, a handful of them, are dirty liars, and they're corrupt themselves. And some of them are the ones involved in President Trump's situation. Fitzgerald, that lion prosecutor, is now a partner at a big law firm. They represented Michigan State University, got paid something like $5 million to whitewash that doctor that was abusing those young girls. That's the kind of guy that put me in prison, Fitzgerald. And someone ought to hold him accountable for that fake whitewash that they got paid $5 million for to protect a pedophile doctor who was abusing young girls. And what they did to me was they convicted me on a standard that if it was applied to everybody else in politics, they would all be in jail. You better believe it. Me. Absolutely. I never promised anything. I never threatened anybody. I was in prison for 14 years for fundraising. The sale of the Senate seat was a big lie, and the appellate court eventually reversed that, saying it was just routine politics.
You're very sincere. I don't see any liar in you. I'm looking right into your eyes. You believe what you're saying.
I believe what I'm saying. I've had a lot of time to think it through.
I understand.
And to go over all the details of the case. I know what the law is.
And I've seen them put a hit on people.
Yes.
And look, you got to be the stupidest guy that ever down the pike for you to be talking about this on the phone. You're not. You've been around. You wouldn't talk. There's no way you would talk. And you knew they were coming for you because you said it for years. Why would you? And then why didn't they play the tape? You kept saying it. I said it every day on the radio. Play the tape. Hey, play it. Can I hear it? I want to hear it. Rod wants us to hear it. Why would? And I'm getting worked up. Why wouldn't they play the tape, Rod?
I'm with you. I'm still asking that question. They're still covered up. They have a seal order on those tapes.
Why?
Because they're covering up the truth.
You did all this illegal stuff. They have it on tape.
Exactly.
Can you play the tape? Can you play the tape for me?
Because the tapes will prove that everything I'm saying is absolutely true. This was a political hit from the beginning. It was a lie. It was a bluff. They thought they could rain Armageddon down on me. They came to my house like they did with Roger Stone, with SWAT teams.
He should be set free, too.
Yes, SWAT teams. And it was all and they created this firestorm in the media.
Well, it's because of Patty's ninja skills. They were afraid. God. And it's not like they could. You're standing on that front porch all the time. I mean, they could have gotten you at any time. They had to send in SWAT teams.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so evil. I want to talk Pritzker. Okay. I want to talk Madigan. I want to talk all of this stuff. I want to find out who this mystery man is next to you.
Yes.
And I want to look as a father of two daughters, both of us. I can't even imagine what you went through. We're going to talk about that as well. Rod Blagojevich is here. His first radio interview since getting out. 312-591-8900. We got reporters here in the studio. And anyway, we'll take your calls next. WLS.
I'm Mancow. The Mancow.
All right, Blago was in jail. He didn't hear these, so I'm going to play what we were playing.
I'd like to see the Rod set free with a Blagojevich's pardon from the dawn.
Here's another one.
Because Blago's loose, yeah, he's loose. Trump broke the Blago loose.
All right, so there you go. Oh, wow. There you go. All right. You know you've made it when I do a song about you, Rod. All right, so they had to get you out of the way, and it worked. They did. 8:20 right now. Blagojevich is here in the studio. Rod Blagojevich. Blago. Do you like people calling you Blago?
They call me a lot worse than that.
Your hair.
Yes.
I have a brother-in-law that's the best hair artist there is.
Oh.
I would be glad to give you gratis, your old hair back.
Yeah, you mean the color or what?
Yes, look, you see this hair?
Yeah.
This is your color in real life.
Yeah, by the way, I'm going to set the record straight. It was never black. It was sable brown, number 47D. Okay.
That's the highlight of the show. By the way, look at this. And look at this. Yeah, come on, brother. This color this color black doesn't exist in nature. Only in the deepest of a black hole. This is right? So fake looking.
Yeah, how do you get that stuff? I'd like to find out.
No, this is what this is. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. Yeah. And I know it looks ridiculous. And I know it looks dyed. I'm telling you, I think it does. Oh. And I'm going for Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, and Elvis. That's what I'm going for. I like that black blue. If you're going to go fake, go fake.
Well, Elvis had that blue black hair, right?
I love it. That's what this is.
You know, I have to say this about that. You shouldn't feel bad about that at all. You're in good company. Not only Elvis, but Mike Ditka. You can't get any tougher than him.
I love Ditka.
Right? Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Well.
And the late, great 18th century Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli.
How do you know he dyed his hair?
I read a book about him. I had a lot of time on my hands.
What was the best book other than the Bible? What was the best book?
I read a lot of books, frankly, believe it or not. And I sometimes read them over again because
You know, time.
Yeah, I mean, days would turn to weeks, weeks to months, seasons would change, and years would go by, and suddenly the book I read 3 years before, I think I'll read it again. So I read a lot about Winston Churchill. He's one of my heroes in history. This is the guy who knew what it was like to endure and persevere hardship and a wilderness period, and he never gave up hope. And
we all go through it.
Yeah, and he ended up turning the bad that happened to him into something great. Again, I'm not comparing myself to him. I get accused by these reporters when I bring up these historical figures. Are you saying you're like Mandela? That guy Anderson Cooper brought up Mandela, not me. I did draw inspiration from Mandela. He was a great man who endured tremendous suffering and then served a lot of good purposes. I'm not saying I'm like them. I'm simply saying when you're in a position like me and you got a lot of time on your hands to think, and you don't want to do that because it's counterproductive, you're looking for inspiration to give you strength. The Bible was first and foremost the best place. But these books about people in history who suffered adversity, they were very inspiring to me. I'd like to one day write a book about some of these stories.
Well, of course you will.
And tell how you can fight through your hard times, too.
Rod, I called it the dark night of the soul. Mm-hmm. And every person has these nights. I get it. You had years of it. Mm-hmm. You talk about Churchill. Man, there's a real parallel with Trump and Churchill in my mind, because everything they said about Churchill, he's a warmonger, he's hateful, and then they needed him.
That's right.
They needed a grown-up, and they needed a guy with balls.
That's
and
right.
They went back to Churchill. And Chamberlain, to me, is an Obama. Pritzker.
Good analogy.
Does Pritzker have something to hide? Rod Blagojevich.
Does Pritzker have something to hide?
Yes.
What do you mean by that specifically?
Is he a bad guy? Is he crooked?
I just learned that he paid Madigan $7 million. Think about this. $7 million from JB to Mike Madigan's campaign coffers. In order to get Madigan to support him for governor and, frankly, to pass his legislative agenda. Madigan basically is holding him up for that campaign money. Similar to what he does, he tried to do with me. He asked for 2.5% of my campaign fund the year I was running for re-election, and when I politely declined. I predicted rightfully that he was going to block our initiatives and try hard to push a tax increase for political purposes, less than to serve any kind of good purpose. JB is a guy who wanted to be a elected official for the longest time. He was fortunate to be born with a silver ladle in his mouth. He didn't make that
that's
money.
a good one.
He didn't make those billions like Trump did. JB inherited that from the Hyatt Hotel family. And he was able to literally spend over $100 million, I'm told, which is unthinkable, to get himself elected governor. Bloomberg is now replicating what JB did at the national level, and he's apparently spent something like $500 million so far to be where he is in the polls, which is probably not that great, but he's got so much money that he can keep spending it. This is a dangerous thing for our democracy, because it means only super rich people can now represent us, and most of us are not those things. And ordinary people like me, with ordinary skills like me, who actually have life experiences like you, suddenly can't get elected because
that's how it's supposed to be.
We don't have the money to be able to compete. That's how it's supposed to be, and it's troubling and very, very problematic. I'll say this about Trump the billionaire. Most of his campaign funds, the overwhelming number, were raised by ordinary people. What Donald Trump has been saying to the American people is resonating with a whole bunch of people, and they're supporting him with their contributions. He is not funding his own campaigns the way Pritzker did here in Illinois and Bloomberg is doing now.
I have incredible contacts in the White House, probably the best.
I'm glad to know you now.
Except for Hannity, as far as radio goes.
Okay.
And maybe Levin's close to. But I have a direct connection. And I have said, for sure, Blago needs to go out. Stone needs to get out. Needs to be pardoned. And I have I don't know what that noise was. I think that's Mark Conkle. I have suggested that you should run Trump's campaign in Illinois.
Oh,
you should be his campaign chief.
Well, let me say this in all seriousness.
You'd be great.
Well, I'm a strong supporter of him, and I got to know.
Are you no longer a Democrat?
I'm a Trumpocrat. I'll probably take
you
a...
said that. What does that mean?
I'm a Democrat for Trump.
Do you like Trump? Okay, listen. Hold on. Madigan. You mentioned Madigan.
Yeah.
I have said for 20 years, nothing happens, nothing changes until Madigan's dead. I don't want anything bad to happen to him, but he's not leaving. He's not going to leave that office alive. Madigan, it seems to me, and I don't know how he got the Republicans and the Democrats to be unified against you. I don't understand it. I don't know what Madigan has on the Republicans. So I'll ask you, what does he have? How is he able to control everybody? I mean, there's no real Republican Party here in Illinois. Let's wake up to that fact.
Well, this is absolute power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And
Sure.
you don't have a check and balance, and the other party is weak, and one party becomes dominant. Then you get, the Madigan types controlling everything behind the scenes. He's the Wizard of Oz, but
Yes.
you get past, and
Yes.
I've dealt with this guy a long time. He's a guy that once you kind of move that curtain, he ain't so tough. Okay. But he's a sneaky little guy, and he controls, and he's been there for 100 years. And he controls all the apparatus of government. And he's got a bunch of lemmings, state reps, Democratic state reps, who talk a big game when they're back home. And as soon as they get down to Springfield, they just forget about all that, and they take their marching orders from him, because what he does is he gives them committee assignments. When I left for prison, I don't know if this is the case now, but when I left, virtually every one of those state lawmakers was on a committee. That's not how it's supposed to
What
be.
does that
and
mean,
they all
though?
get paid extra money.
Oh,
so
I see.
You get an extra $10,000.
You get the sweet deals.
Yeah, and
if you
you
go along with him. Yeah.
Right, and if you don't go along with him, you're not on that committee. And he controls them that way. He controls the ability to call a bill, and these lawmakers allow him to simply have that control. They've abdicated that to him. He then controls all the campaign money, so they're dependent on him and have to go to him. Then he gets, our substantial governor to give him substantial contributions, right? Like $7 million.
So it's the money go round, and the people are being screwed, obviously.
And
we're paying for this party.
That's right. They're dependent. And then when they need more of your money, they raise your taxes.
I'm running out of time for this segment. I saw some story about $750 billion or some crazy number, maybe million, that the lottery gave to our schools. And yet they always need more money. Where is all the lottery money going? Is that corrupt?
It's dishonest. The lottery.
I thought it was going to fix the schools, remember?
Exactly.
There's so much money going to the lottery, and yet we constantly need money. There's no money for schools. So where is all that money going?
So the lottery money goes directly to the schools. The money that was there for the schools before the lottery money, that went to other places. So suddenly, instead of more money, it's the same, right?
All right. Wait. I'm going to interrupt you. Why didn't you quit? Why didn't you resign? Because you could have saved yourself tons of hassle. You could have resigned.
Why didn't I take the deal when they're dangling a light sentence if I agree to say what they want me to say? Why didn't I do that? Because I could never live with myself. I'd be a drunk. I'd be an alcoholic. I'd hate myself for giving in to those corrupt people.
So you went to jail. You went to jail for 8 years, and you could have walked away.
Well, I could have walked away with less time. That's how they operate. They dangle light sentences if you say what they want you to say.
So you're like a guy that wouldn't snitch.
I wouldn't snitch on myself, and I wouldn't talk about anybody else, but that's right. But I wasn't snitching on myself because I didn't break a law. Listen.
Rod, do you know what that's called?
What's it called?
Character.
Thank you. You're like the first person who's told me that in about 15 years. But thank you.
No, but I'm telling you, you come to me and say, hey, dude, take the deal. You get less time. It's going to be tough for me.
They dangled 18
You're
months.
looking at two little kids? Two little girls? I got two little girls. 18 months versus how many years did they want you in?
They put me in for 14 years.
Sweet Jesus.
Okay, and of course I have children. I thought about all of those things, right? Because you have
Your kids are out here in the cold world without you. I'm a father.
I know. That's the hardest part of it
I cannot imagine. Hold on.
Yes,
we got
course.
to. All right. Blagojevich is here. Rod Blagojevich. This is incredible stuff. Rod, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Mancow.
Hope you're, I don't know if you're enjoying this, but I'm glad you're here, and I think Chicago needs to hear what you're saying. And they're not going to hear it anywhere else because they edit you and they give you little sound bites and this media's just become such propagandists. Really, the agenda. And all right, let's go over to the newsroom. Nick, a massacre in Milwaukee. This is heartbreaking stuff.
Yeah, a employee stormed the Molson Coors complex in Milwaukee, killing 5 coworkers yesterday before killing himself. Layoffs happening at that plant. That could be the reason why they're still investigating. The facility is closed today. A quick check of the weather forecast. Meteorologist Ray Stagek.
Cloud, sunshine, stay cold here over the next couple of days. Maybe a leftover snow flurry going in the low 30s today and tomorrow for that matter. Overnight lows will stay in the teens. 40 or higher Saturday, could get close to 60 degrees by Sunday. 25 O'Hare, 25 Midway, 26 degrees on the lakefront. From the Weather Channel, meteorologist Ray Stagek on WLS AM 890 and other.
.com. The Man Cow.
If they were already on, get rid of them is what I should have said. We got so many calls coming in. We've been taking calls on the air and off the air. I want to see if Brian's been on. Brian, have you been on yet with Blagojevich, Rod Blagojevich?
Yes, I'm the Black Republican.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We have a good text for him.
Hey, can I just say, I always feel like For 20 years, I felt like Jerry Lewis. Blagojevich. It just sounds like something Jerry Lewis would say. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Please ask Rod what food he missed the most being in jail.
Oh, yeah. Well, ice cream sundaes.
Yes, I love ice cream.
And wait a minute. Who took the ice cream? Wait a minute. I'm supposed to give you this shirt. The Sunday Shop. There you go. I forgot I was supposed to give that to you.
Thank you.
I know the guy brought you ice cream. Did you get the ice cream when you got home?
Yes, and
Okay.
I've eaten almost all of it already.
Now, what dye do you use? Auburn what?
Oh, sable brown, number 47D.
I can get your sable brown hair back. My brother-in-law will do it. Claudio Ferrando.
When we get off air, I'll call you.
Okay, I got the hookup. I'm not going to send you to Thomas West.
I'm not sure what Patty will think about that.
No, I better not. How would I explain that? I mean, I'd probably.
You don't need to explain it.
Highly unlikely I would do that.
You're back. You're back, baby. The hair is back. The helmet is back. You're famous for your hair.
And other things.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. What food did you miss? For me, it would be Mr. Beef and Rico Benny's, and
How
we have
about
such
everything?
great.
The food sucked in prison.
Oh, I
It
can't
sucked.
imagine.
If taxpayers are worried about the tax money being wasted on food for inmates, don't worry about it. They're not wasting money on the food. It was awful. But
The first night we had Lou Malnati's for pizza.
Yes,
and
Lou
then the
Malnati's.
second night, Patty made your mom's recipe for
Spaghetti.
which was fantastic.
my mother taught my wife, before my mother passed away, how to make spaghetti that she makes, and it was fantastic. And I've been yearning for that for a long time. So I miss Patty's spaghetti. But I missed ice cream, and every Wednesdays they allow you to buy a pint of ice cream in the commissary, but I would never let myself do that. I felt like I needed to be strong mentally, and if I'm nothing's going to make me happy there anyway, so I'll wait until the day I come home.
You didn't have ice cream when you could have?
Exactly, I did not. I wouldn't let myself have it.
So I have two 14-year-old daughters.
Yes.
Okay, just last week one of them shrugged at me. It was great. Great moment.
Yes.
I kind of wish I was in jail right now. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding.
Yes.
Your daughters, you're out. What was that like?
Well, it's a.
Was it awkward?
Not for me. I think it is for them.
It has to be.
And especially our little one, Annie, who
She was how old when you went in?
8 years old when I left, and she's 16, going to be 17 next month, and in April 5th. So she's a very different person, and she's really grown. I'm so proud of her. She's does good in school. She's very thoughtful. She's got a lot of convictions. She plays the piano, and she played a piece from Chopin the other day, which really teared me up because, my little girl's growing up, my baby. So she's not quite sure who this man is who's back in our home, So that there's an adjustment going on, and we're making real progress. They're both very happy that I'm there. It's just we have to get used to me. And my older daughter, Amy, who's known and loved me longer, the adjustment I think is easier for her. But it's been very hard. This is another thing that I never saw when I was in a place where I could have done more, and that's the area of criminal justice reform. I could have done way more clemencies. I'm kicking myself over that. I had 8 years in prison to do that. But I never looked past the criminal, the one who was convicted. I never thought beyond him or her and what his family was going through and what the children would have to go through. I learned that of very hard lessons with my own family. And then when I would be with mine in the visiting rooms, I'd look around and I'd see other families. And you can tell who a mother was because you'd see the sadness in her eyes. And you could see just how difficult that is for people.
Rod, what I would give to have have my daughters at 8 again. God, and you missed it.
I missed it. You're such a good guy, man.
No, man, it's just, I have little girls to not have their father.
Yeah. Well, they were an inspiration to me because, when you're in a position where there's not a lot you can do, the one thing you can do when you face crushing adversity is you can be strong through it because your purpose is for the people that you love. Viktor Frankl wrote about this in his book, Search for Meaning. Your listeners, I think, could find inspiration from that book.
What's it called?
It's called Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor who lost everything.
I read that book.
Yeah.
I read that book, yeah.
And he talks about how even when everything's taken from me, and I'm not comparing myself to Holocaust survivors, so for these media people out there who twist everything, but I am saying that...
You got inspiration from the book when you were in the Slammer,
right.
Yeah.
And he provides an insight which is really remarkable, and that is when everything's taken from you, but you're still there, you need purpose in life. And the purpose comes from those you love. And for me, being strong and setting the right example for my kids and Patty was purpose, and it motivated me every day to do better.
Yes.
I thought it was powerful, and I just learned this after Rod had gotten home, but when he was sentenced to 14...
This is Mark Vargas, who has been fighting for a couple years to get Rod out. Go ahead.
When he was sentenced to 14 years in prison, and shared the story, he told Patty, leave me. You're young, you've got a whole life ahead of you. I'm going to be locked away for 14 years.
That is selfless.
And she fought her ass off for the last 8 years to get him home, and she was so loyal and so tough. But what an emotional conversation to tell your wife, the mother of your 2 daughters, it's okay, go ahead and leave me.
Did Dick Mell, your father-in-law, cover everything? Was he funding her and keeping her in the house? Is that how that happened? Where did the money come from? How did she survive?
She built up a business on her own. She's really heroic. Patty has a real successful business where she helps companies reduce their healthcare costs.
So she has her own money.
Well, and she also has a Series 7 financial license, which she taught herself. She's very smart, a lot smarter than me. And her father was helpful, and he helped. He's helped her get clients, and he was very helpful to our children, and it helped my daughter Amy go through college.
What are you going to do for a living?
I'm working on trying to figure out a way to make a livelihood. I've got a lot of catching up to do.
You can't be a lawyer.
Correct. But I hoped maybe to write a book or two, and we have a new opportunity that came to us. It's funny you mentioned that. It's called
Cameo.
Yeah, Cameo.
They reached out to
you know what this is?
They reached out.
The video thing?
Yes.
Is that what that is?
Yes.
I was trying to explain Cameo
Tell
to
us
them.
what it is.
They wanted me to do it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And I just felt, I mean, have fun with it. I felt silly.
Yeah. Tell me how it works?
Mark Vargas is having a birthday. Record a 30-second video for Mark Vargas.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Mark, it's Mancow. Happy birthday, brother. God, I'm so glad you listen to my show. Okay. Gee, you're fantastic. See ya. And then you get $100.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I wonder what they pay me, like 25 cents to say, hey, Mancow.
I hear you're in jail. Things aren't going yes. I just would feel silly, but if you can make money doing it and you need to make money, do it. Let's go to Richard. Hello.
Hey, how you doing out there?
Hey, man.
I want to say thank you, man.
You're thanking me for putting him on. Your phone died. Wally, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was wondering if the governor knew that after he was arrested, the federal prosecutor was asked a question by the newsman. He says, why didn't you continue to eavesdrop on the governor's phone calls?
Right.
Isn't that usually the procedure to get the big guys on top? Why did you stop now? And the prosecutor answered, what are you, nuts? We didn't want a constitutional crisis.
So what does that mean? Why is that a powerful statement, Rod?
Well, to begin with, let me say this. You know, when you're in Chicago politics, as I came out of that system, you learn very early on that whatever you say on the telephone, you better make sure it's on the right side of the line. So the idea that I would then be making telephone calls and conversations where I'm knowingly crossing lines and breaking laws is preposterous. Secondly, people don't know this, but they had a target on my back beginning in December of 2003. I had been governor for 10 months, and they immediately started investigating me.
You said that.
Trump. Yes.
You said that. You were telling anybody that would listen.
Yes.
You were the town crier. I actually remember this.
Yes. And so when you know they're chasing and they're trying to find stuff, you're super careful to make sure you do nothing wrong. The irony is those conversations were all because I was discussing ideas to see whether or not we can or cannot do these things.
Rod, I'm going to interrupt you and then I got to go to break.
Yep.
Listen, I want to tell you something. This is what I've been saying for years, more than 8 years, through the whole trial. You told everybody you would stop trash men on the street. Hey, they're going to try to get me. You said that for years. Before I, like I said earlier, before I ever heard of Obama. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, they got something. No surprise there. You say play the tape. They never played the tape.
Right.
You maintain you didn't do anything. Anderson Cooper says, no, you've got to admit it. Why?
Right.
Why, if you're innocent, why do you have to admit it to Anderson Cooper? And this new world, like I said, it's like something Huxley created. You have to use these words. You have to admit it. You have to do this. For them. And I love that you're saying, you got the big middle finger salute for these guys, and you're going to go down fighting, and you went to jail a lot longer than you had to out of principle.
Can I say this?
Yes.
I truly believe Act 1 is over, and only now are we starting Act 2. And I truly believe, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, truth crushed to earth will one day rise again because no lie can live forever. I believe the truth will be exposed here, and those corrupt, dirty, rotten prosecutors who did this will be exposed.
You know what happens in Act 3? The fat lady sings, but thank God Patty's kept it together. She's still looking good. So no fat lady singing. I don't even know what that means, except I got to go. Hang on.
The Mancow. LS. The Mancow.
I don't know if there's grave odds that Patty was going to leave me. Was that how bad it was?
That's just vile.
Because Blago's loose. Yeah, he's loose.
All right, we're back with Rod Blagojevich. Again, I feel like Jerry Lewis. Blagojevich! Hey, you did all those shows. You did every TV show. I know you were on The Apprentice. Trump is a cool guy. I don't recognize the guy I've spent time with Trump over 30 years, and I don't recognize what they talk about on TV. That's not the guy I know. Mm-hmm. You're not the guy I know in person, right? Egomaniac and blah, blah. You seem like a very measured, godly guy. Anyway, where are we going with this? Of all the TV shows, were they great? Did you enjoy Letterman and all these shows?
No, I mean, they were hard because the circumstances were difficult. I mean, I landed on the Letterman show because I got arrested as a sitting governor and thrown out of office. So there was
no fun being on Letterman?
No, it was all part of an effort to try to get the truth out and try to defend myself.
Were you shocked at what he looked like in person?
Who, Letterman?
Yeah. Because I've watched him for years, and when I met him, I was on that show twice.
Oh, okay.
Like, he doesn't look like... It looked like some kind of grimacing, weird-looking dude in person.
It's cold in there. It's 48 degrees in that studio.
Keeps it cold,
right?
and then, of course, during commercial breaks, it was like a robot was unplugged.
Oh, yeah.
For me, he didn't talk. He didn't talk to anybody. He like slumped over, and you're sitting there like, what's going on? And then the music kicks in. Hey, we're back. It was weird for me, man.
That's interesting. I think that was right with him as well. Celebrity Apprentice was not an easy thing to do because, you know, I'd been the governor and I had all this stuff at me. But let me say this about Donald Trump. I didn't know him that well. I met him once or twice, and then I'm on his show. He was so kind to me. He knew what I was facing. Yeah. And he knew just how difficult that was. He had a chance to meet my daughters, and they were so little then. And we were in an elevator together, and as we're leaving the elevator with Patty, because he's a tall man. He's like 6'3", 6'4".
Big guy.
And he bent over. No cameras there. No one was thinking about him running for president. I mean, I never imagined it. And he just said to them, because we just got off a show and a crowd had kind of laughed when I asserted my innocence. And he felt bad for my kids. And he said, you know, you should realize that your father is standing up for something along these lines. And that don't let the applause, you know, or the laughter take away from the fact that he's willing to fight for what he believes in, and you're very lucky to have a dad, something along those lines, that does that. And it was such a kind thing for these two little girls who were so isolated and alone in an audience that was basically mocking their father.
I love how everybody, Trump, one of the biggest shows on TV, everybody in Hollywood loved him. He's hanging out with Russell Simmons. The minute he wants to become president, well, he's a racist, he hates gays, he all lies.
All
right?
lies.
And by the way, while you were in jail, I want to tell you something.
Yes.
Do you know what Kanye is?
Yeah, Kanye's a rap star, right?
Okay, so
from Chicago.
I
met him once.
It's just garbage. I just hate it. You know, I'm like musically. It's just garbage. And I had everybody tell me, oh, he's a genius. And I would listen to this horrible music that Kanye did. It's crap. And then he likes Trump. And then it's horrible music. He's and now I like him, but it's so predictable. These people, they're so fake.
Yes.
You didn't happen to read David Mamet's book about growing up as a North Shore Jewish guy and what it means to be part of the party, and that to ask questions, you're ostracized. So they never ask questions. And so all the Democrats lined up, you're bad. It's it. So the gatekeepers decided, you're bad. You're off to jail. Goodbye. But I don't understand the Republicans that the same deal, the vitriol towards you.
Well, they're politicians, and they think that by keeping me sort of down and sort of like the, in a position that I was in, it helps their politics. I agree with the sentiments they're making, but they're directing them in the wrong place. It ought to go to the prosecutors that did this, and it ought to go to places like the entrenched establishment that really is thwarting the will of the people and led by the Wizard of Oz himself, Mike Madigan.
We're run out of time. Should we expect you to come out with anything on Pritzker or Madigan? Is there dirt coming? Can the other shoe drop?
I hope to be a truth teller as much as I can. I want to work on criminal justice reform, God willing. I've got to make a living and figure out a way to earn some income for my family who've long suffered. I hope I can write a book or two, and within the book or two that I could write, I would tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as I know it. And I hope that I can do that, and I'm going to get my crayons out, 6 of them, primary colors, to write a book.
What? Did you get visitors in jail?
Only my family. Only
Were they
my
allowed
wife.
to visit?
Yes.
How often?
A couple times a year.
That's it.
It's very difficult for them to come out. My kids have school. They have their lives. And then I didn't want to burden them, to press them to come too often, because I know how hard it is for them after they leave me.
Was there anybody in jail that you would talk to again now that you're
yes,
out?
Very much so. I met some people there that are not bad people. Yes, they broke the law. Not bad people. First-time nonviolent offenders. Even guys who sold drugs, who came from disadvantaged backgrounds. 26-year sentence for my friend Joe Nair, who never had committed a crime before in his life. He's got young kids himself. When the
26
average
years
rapist,
for
26
drugs.
years, first-time offender, nonviolent, but a rapist gets, on average, ready for this, a little more than 4 years. The criminal justice system is broken. It's also racist, but it's broken. And and you got these prosecutors who shake people down, and they perpetuate this system.
And the lawyers all get rich, and the money goes round and round. Nick?
Sir.
I wanted you to ask a question. We're out of time, but go ahead. Let's just run late a bit here. Rod Blagojevich is on. Thank you, Rod. Go ahead, Nick.
Governor, I'm wondering if you will make a move to try and unseal those tapes. Is there any legal action or recourse you can take so we can finally hear all those tapes?
Thank you for asking that. I'm going to explore every possible vehicle and way to do that. We've tried repeatedly over these nearly 11 years since all this has been going on to get those tapes released. And the courts continue to deny it because I think they're covering up.
Unbelievable.
They're covering up these prosecutors. But it's interesting, they leaked one tape. It's illegally because you can't leak the tape to the Chicago Tribune.
The part that worked for them, sure.
Yeah, and they did that to actually embarrass JB in the campaign.
Rod, we're out of time.
Thank you
for coming in. I want to ask you something. Were you hesitant to come in here? Is this different than you thought it would be?
The Mancow. Wherever you go, take us with you. Download the TuneIn app or listen online at WLSAM.com.